Our first speaker, he's a national speaker. He's a technology guru. He's also host of the Titans Real Estate Show, if you guys have seen that on Facebook. Give your hands up for Greg Fowler.
Thanks, Jason. Appreciate it.
Take it away.
Thanks so much. How's everybody doing today? Good space to be. Really appreciate everybody taking the time. I know there's a lot of places that you can be and a lot of things that you can be doing right now, so hopefully everybody here on stage brings tons of value, tons of power to your business and really helps you grow. As Jason said, I've been in the business for well over a decade, eat, sleeping, and breathing technology. Marketing and advertisement is my lifeblood. Stewart Title is where I am. I am the regional sales manager here in Colorado Springs, so I absolutely love representing the brand that I'm at. But for me, it's all about growing and developing the partners that we work with here at Stewart Title. And for me, it's with technology, marketing, and advertisement. So I don't know it all. I don't pretend to know it all. I travel the United States. I learn from way smarter people than I am, and I bring it back to our markets here in Colorado and Colorado Springs. What happens in Manhattan, what happens in Malibu, doesn't necessarily happen here in Colorado Springs. So we have to understand what works and what doesn't for our buyers, for our sellers. So without further ado, I'm just going to dive into this presentation. Now, I will throw a disclaimer out to you. It is going to be a fire hose of information. Usually my shortest presentation is over 2 hours, so 30 minutes is a blip for me. So just bear that in mind. Pick and choose one or two things that stick out to you. Please don't try to implement everything because it's going to be impossible right off the bat. Pick one or two things, write it down. Call me, text me, email me, message me. Let me know what you want to learn more about, and I'm accessible. I'll have all my contact information at the last slide here. So without further ado, let's get into it. Into dynamic ads. Now, in traditional basis of marketing and advertisement for business, you could be the best product and service in the world. You could be the best at what you do, but if nobody knows your name, nobody hears about your brand, it does not matter. You need to be in front of the right people at the right time. That's crucially important, and that's where advertisement marketing comes into play. That never changes, never has changed since the dawn of marketing and advertisement. But what has changed is dynamics. Now inside here, it's very specific because back in the day, advertisements used to be based off of zip codes, male-female ratio, household incomes, maybe likes and interest. Now it's completely different. Big Brother has a lot to do with it. Big data has a lot to do with it. I'll explain this here in a second. But when it comes to real estate transactions, people aren't just buying and selling homes for the sake of buying and selling homes. There's a reason for it. It's a lifestyle change interaction. So the list here, you know, job promotion, relocation, if somebody has a new child, if somebody gets married, if somebody gets divorced, if there's a death in the family, if somebody's getting downsizing because a child moves on and goes to college. These are lifestyle reasons why we're buying and selling homes. But what you need to understand is that Google and big data are paying attention to every site you go to. Everything you click on, everything you type in. I'm not trying to weird you out or creep you out, but these are the facts when it comes down to it. Using this to your advantage as a business professional and a business owner is everything. So what I'm saying to you is during all these lifestyle changes, let's say I'm getting married. I'm looking up wedding venues, DJs, I'm looking up catering companies. If I happen to be having a new child, I'm looking up pediatricians, I'm looking up hospitals, I'm looking up how to build that perfect nursery, right? Put that together. There's so many different things. If I'm getting divorced, I'm looking up divorce attorneys. I mean, if I have a death in the family, I'm looking up coroners. This is what we're doing. If I'm relocating for a job promotion, I'm looking up ABF, U-Haul, all these different moving companies. I might be on Monster and Indeed. I'm not on a real estate website, though. So how does this make sense? Well, this is what happens. Google's paying attention to these things. Anybody who's looking at any of these subcategories is put into a real estate search because they're very likely to move, to buy or sell. Right? So this is where you can use this to your advantage. Now, it is creepy, so I'll mention with big data. Has anybody in here read the article in 2016 with Forbes and Target? Does that ring a bell for anybody? 1, 2, 3. Okay, 4. So there's a few of you in here that are, this is a really, really interesting story. 2016, a young girl gets pregnant. She's up in her room, she's researching how to be a mom, all these different private searches on her laptop in her bedroom. 2 weeks goes by. Target purchases all the information that big data was paying attention to. Target starts sending in the mail to that address on file diapers, baby coupons, baby magazines over weeks and weeks and weeks. They're at dinner. And what happens is Dad's standing over the table, pile of mail, and he says, "Why are we getting all this baby stuff?" Her face turns red, and he finds out that his daughter is pregnant through big data. So this is happening. This has been happening, whether you want to admit it or not. This is the facts. Use this to your advantage as a real estate professional for buyers and sellers to truly get in at the right place at the right time, not just blanketing. Now, this dynamic search, these dynamic ads work on any digital platform that has advertisements. Now, some of my favorite happen to be Facebook, Instagram, Google, and YouTube, but there's a lot out there, and I can explain these at a later time. But let me go a little bit deeper, because now you understand the dynamic ad is happening. It's running in the background. They're paying attention to everything that we're doing, everything we're looking at, and it's very, very finite. Let's talk about how we build them, because the creation is a big thing. Now, I know we're not all marketing firms in here. We're not complete tech nuts that eat, sleep, and breathe this like I do. I enjoy this. I nerd out. I'm up till 2 in the morning sometimes researching this just because this is my passion. Now, when it comes down to it, there's a few rules that you want to abide by. Now, there's every single site that I mentioned, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, or Google, they all have different setups for it. I'm using Facebook for an example for you guys just because I only have 30 minutes. So when it comes down to Facebook, they're the #1 website on the planet. The #1 website on the planet. Now, when it comes down to it, there's over 2 billion users, 1.5 billion active users when it comes down to Facebook. Now, here's an alarming stat. 1 out of every 5 page views pulled up on the internet worldwide is a Facebook page. Core demographic on this, 35 to 55 years of age. It's not the young kids. The young kids are gone. They're on to Snapchat, they're on to Instagram, and no offense to the millennials, but they're on Instagram, 18 to 32 years of age, that's where they live. They're not necessarily hanging out on Facebook. That's okay, because what's your core demographic? Who's buying and selling right now is your 35 to 55, but pay attention to where the future is going. 2017, last year, 33 to 36% of the buyers were millennials. They're the biggest generation in the world. They're bigger than the baby boomers. We're not necessarily talking about them today, but that's something you want to pay attention to later on. Now, when it comes down to Facebook, this is really, really important to know that people are spending a lot of time on this. But there's a difference between physical and digital advertising, because I'm not just going to push this on you. There's a lot of traditional sense in marketing and advertisement in real estate. So the physical aspect is a direct mail piece. Now, this is typical for a lot of real estate professionals or a lot of other professions out there. A direct mail piece, a postcard. So here's the national breakdown of what this is in a side-by-side comparison. You do the math yourselves on your particular business. But here's a physical postcard. On average, $1,500 campaign on a national basis is 3,500 postcards. Postage, creation, printing, all that. So $1,500 gives you 3,500 impressions. It's 50 cents an impression. So let's go into the digital aspect, because a lot of people are like, Greg, you know what, my age ranges aren't there, they're not paying attention to these sites. I'll beg to differ, but let's just do the math here. That same $1,500 budget on a Facebook campaign, which anybody in here who has done a Facebook campaign knows you don't have to spend $1,500. We're talking about $50, $100, $200. That same $1,500 is going to give you 75,000 plus impressions, and on average 2 cents an impression. The numbers don't lie, but here's the thing. If you're still stuck on traditional marketing and advertisement, because a lot of title companies, and you know, I'm not going to say Stewart's not about that, because we do direct mail pieces, don't get me wrong. I don't vouch for them. I think they're a waste of time. I think they're a waste of money. I don't want to offend anybody here. But I've done the math. I've done the research. I've worked with thousands of real estate professionals across the United States. I know this information to my heart. But when it comes down to it, do a multimedia campaign. Say, Greg, you know what? I want to do a physical campaign. Hit them into digital. Because what happens, they get your direct mail piece in your house. They go to the trash can, they stand over it, and they throw it away. Constantly inundated with garbage, right? Garbage, garbage, garbage. They see your ad, though. They see your face. They keep going through. And then they have a digital ad when they pull up their phone. Then you'll see where your marketing and advertisement dollars go, and you'll see where your impressions come through. So that's the difference between the two. I highly recommend looking into this. Now, when it comes down to it, there's a lot of rules that apply, because people say, okay, I've tried Facebook ads. They suck. They don't work. Trust me when I tell you you're not doing it right. Garbage in, garbage out. I don't want to be rude, but these are the facts. How you do this really matters. Now, Facebook has 3 rules, very specific. Please take shots of these screens, write them down, whatever you want to do, but these rules are very, very important. The first one is Facebook Pixel. Anybody in here familiar with a pixel? I just want to see what I'm doing in here. Okay, so there's a few people inside here. Now, Pixel is a code. As soon as you create a Facebook advertisement, it doesn't matter if you're spending $5 or $5,000, you get a pixel. It's a code. You attach that code, you copy and paste it into the header of your website. And what that does is creates a retargeting program and generating data analytics. This is free. It doesn't cost you anything, but it makes your ad much more effective. Facebook Pixel, it's labeled. You can't miss it. Do not forget to use it. You can still do an ad and have some success, but you won't have the level of success without it. Pixel's number 1. Number 2 ends up being giving it the time frame, 3 days. Facebook wants 3 days. Now, this is Facebook and Google, and what they're doing is they're running analytics. They're doing background searches on the people. So when you create an ad on Facebook, it can be very generic, right? You get hundreds of thousands of people, or it can be very specific on the other side. I tend to go more specific because I don't want a bunch of looky-loos. I don't want a bunch of people wasting my time and wasting my money. I want people who are really in that search. So you go more specific and you type in male-female ratio, household income, zip codes, occupations, whatever service you're trying to target to, and then what you're going to do is let it ride for 3 days. Give it the time to run the data. Let's just say you have 10,000 people in your search for that particular advertisement. In those 3 days, Google and Facebook are going to pay attention to those 10,000 individuals, what sites they go to, what time frame they spend on them, what they're typing into Google. Do they really fit into that end user of your product or service? After those 3 days, they might narrow it down to 2,500. Instead of wasting your time and money on 10,000, hit the 2,500 and move on. That will allow you to do it if you give it the time to run. Now, after that, that's fine. Change the photos, change the background, change the content inside of it. But the problem is, so many professionals, myself included, when you first get involved in Facebook, you're like, oh, I only got that many views. I only got that many clicks. I only got that many impressions. Let me change the verbiage. Let me change the content itself. It restarts that time frame. Create a good ad, give it 3 days, and let it ride. Very important to do. And step number 3 that you do not want to miss is impressions. Now, on a national average, they're saying 8,000 impressions for a real estate particular professional. That varies on your typical engagement with your sphere and consumer, and I talk to all of my professionals one-on-one, very specifically on what you're doing, how you're doing it, and what your general impressions are. But you want to get more than average. The point is, if you're putting out an advertisement or a post on your business Facebook page, and let's just say on average you get 100 likes, maybe a few shares, and then 30 comments. That's your average. So if you were to create or think about creating an advertisement, post it on your business page for free first. Test it out organically. Don't waste your time, don't waste your money. Test it out. Because if it organically does well, let's say average is 100, but you get 200 on this one, that might be something to put some money into, create an ad. Otherwise, don't waste your money because it wasn't compelling, engaging enough to begin with for free. Boosting a post is not the same as creating an ad. People are lazy, don't get me wrong, we've all done it. Hey, I'm going to boost it, or they just don't know. It might get a few more impressions, but it's not dynamically searching. Remember, we discussed about the importance of dynamics earlier. That is important. Create an ad, you'll get the dynamic search. So those are the 3 rules you do not break when it comes to advertising. Now, when it comes to analytics, I'm a big nerd on that. I think it's the old adage, you don't know where you're going until you know where you've been. What works, what doesn't, where to spend your time or reinvest your money. I think that that's very important when it comes to marketing and advertisement, physical or digital. Facebook will give you analytics. I don't trust it. I'm very skeptical. I don't listen to one person telling me one thing. It's ridiculous. Find third-party disinterested information. This particular site, grademyads.com, is free. I recommend using it. I don't care if you're spending $5 or $5,000. Put your ad for free in this account. It'll tell you how many clicks, how many impressions, how many views from a third party. You got Facebook, you got Grade My Ads, and now you can come to the honest conclusion. Do the due diligence, do your research. You don't have to hire a marketing firm to do this. Now, when it comes to building your ads, a lot of people say, Greg, great, so I can get in front of the right people at the right time with the right message. How am I building this? I'm not super creative. These sites down listed below, Snappa, Canva, Animation.com, Ripple Pro, WordSwag, Over, these are all great sites. Now, those top 3, Snappa, Canva, Animation, that's what I'd recommend doing. It's plug and play. You pick Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever site you're trying to create an advertisement for, and it's just populate the data. Whether it's a photo, a GIF repeater, a video, you punch the code over, it's really easy to do. And those first 3 are free to use. Very, very important. Now, the last thing I'm going to do before I beat this down all the way with Facebook is knowing what works at the time for your end user. So the most important thing that you can focus on is there's all kinds of ads you can run. A photo, a GIF repeater, you can do video advertisements. The most popular right now that has over 387% intent for engagement, this is through Facebook, not through my analytics, is a carousel ad. A carousel ad is the one you want to be using right now. It's the highest level of engagement. It doesn't cost you any more money. It's the same amount of money, but you're getting over 300% more engagement. Now, if you guys don't know what a carousel ad, this is an example. There's multiple tabs that go through. It's 2 to 10 tabs. You can have photos, GIF repeaters, videos. You can have them slide through. There's lots of creativity to it. That's what I would recommend doing when it comes to an advertisement. And that's a whole conversation that I can have with you directly on how and what and why, but use a carousel ad. Reach out to me. I'll explain that a little bit later. So let's go into probably the most important thing about it. You can be ultra creative, you can be ultra dynamic, you can hit the buyers and sellers at the right place at the right time, but if you do not have a funnel, you're wasting your money. You're wasting your time. This will absolutely change the game and crush your competition right here. And the marketing firms don't want to give it to you because this is where they get paid. This is creative. This is exactly the game plan that you need right here, 1 through 6. And I have examples for every single site that I work. This happens to be a Facebook example. But when you talk about advertisements, I always have that. Ask yourself why you're creating the ad in the first place. Why are you doing it? Are you trying to generate more listings? Are you trying to generate more buyers? Are you trying to generate more likes on your Facebook page, more reviews on your Zillow account? What are you trying to accomplish with this advertisement? Reverse engineer it. So if your end goal is to generate more listings, create an advertisement that's customized for sellers. Don't do a catch-all ad. Don't waste your time because generic is going to get generic results. So pay attention to that. And then most importantly onto that, content is king. Always has been, always will be. These are the facts of marketing and advertisement. You can be very dynamic, very accurate, the right place, the right time with the right people, but if it doesn't catch my attention, I'm going to scroll right by it. I'm going to look right by it. Very, very important to know. Have think tanks, have mastermind groups, sit down with your peers. Ask yourself, take yourself out of it and say, hey, look, if I'm a seller, what would I click on? What would I log into? What would I subscribe to? If the answer is no to what you're creating, if you saw that same thing you're thinking about posting out and you wouldn't actually engage with it, why are you wasting your time? Think differently, think outside the box. That's extremely important. Content is everything. So when we go to step 1, that's the ad. So you have a compelling ad, interesting, thought-provoking, informative, direct to your actual end user, whatever that may be. That's $1 per click. Ends up being $1 per click on Facebook when you're doing it right. Step 2, when they actually click, it has to be a landing page. Now, whether you create a WordPress site or you have it going to your main direct site, if you have any online lead generation, that's fine too. But it drops, 33% conversion. So it goes over. Now, it ends up being $3 a lead, which adjusts inside there, right? But the landing page has to have ultimate value. Why am I clicking on this ad? And then what are you giving me for it? Because it's a strategic give. I'm not just going to click on your ad just for the sake of doing it. So you have to give me something of value, and the video is where it's at. Video is everything. I have a whole section on video, which I'm not even going to be able to touch today just because I don't have time. When it comes down to videos, it's super important. But give value. So if I am trying to engage with a seller, give me something that I really, really think is valuable. Don't just give me some generic stuff. Don't give me a pamphlet. It's a video, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, and you're literally telling me, okay, here are the top 5 things that you can do to dramatically improve the curb appeal of your home, step by step by step. Something that if they take that, they're smarter because of it, and they don't need you. That's okay. That's okay. It's a strategic give. So that video still ends up being $3 a click. Now you go to the survey. So at the end of the video, hey, if you really like to see, I'd love to list your home. Everything that I explained to you, please fill out the conservative survey, and we'll have somebody from my support staff reach out to you. Also, click on the calendar that's open through Google Calendars to select a date and time that works well for you. So they fill out a survey. It drops to 10%. You lost 90% at this point. I could care less. I don't want them. You don't want them. It's wasting your time, wasting their time. 10% conversion is what you want, $30 an applicant. It goes to the calendar. This is all automated. From step 1 to step 5, you haven't done a thing. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you're generating business. True strategic business onto this. This is why the funnel is crucially important to design well. Calendar goes up, you pick up the phone, step 6, and say, hey, Greg, I saw that you filled out the survey. I'm really excited to meet with you at 2 o'clock today on Friday, whatever. Do you have any questions? Look forward to seeing you then. At that point, overall 25% conversion rate, $120 per lead. I don't care who you are in this room, and I know it's been thrown around all the time. If you could give $120 to every person. These are the facts. If you give $120 to a qualified buyer or seller, all day long you do it to generate thousands of commission. And this is what this is designed for. Use the sales funnel. You have any questions, let me know. I'll go into more detail. Now, retargeting is another program that I think is extremely important when it comes to this. Now, this is nothing new. It's been used for years and years. Now, we've all been there. We go to a shoe shop online, Allen Edmonds. We look up a nice pair of shoes. We think, forget it. You know what? I'm going to wait for the annual sale. I'm not even going to go there. An hour later, a week later, a month later, that same pair of shoes follows us all over the internet. Men's Health, ESPN, Food Network, it's there, right? And you're thinking, what is going on? That's retargeting. Use this to your advantage for buyers, for sellers, before a meeting, after a meeting. Hey, Greg, look forward to meet at 4 o'clock today. I'd love to go over everything that I can do to help you list your home. By the way, here's some happy clients that have helped with my business. As soon as they click on the link, you got them. You are following them all over the internet. Men's Health, ESPN, Food Network. You have a listing that's created, right? And you have an angry seller. Greg, you put the sign in the yard. I know that you listed on the MLS, but you said this was going to get sold. It's been 2 weeks. Anybody who's listed at home knows that sometimes sellers can be this way. So use a retargeting program on them. create an advertisement for their particular listing, send them a link and say, hey, everybody, just want to let you know this is what I'm posting out there. They click on it. Now your house, I'm the seller, is now following me all over the internet. Letting them know, a gentle reminder that I'm trying to push your house all over the internet. Men's Health, ESPN Food Network. This is going to differentiate from a lot of people. A lot of strategic listing appointments that I work with and a lot of buyer representation that I work with, they will send them a link of some sort on social media, a text, an email with a retargeting program attached to it. And then they're doing a side-by-side comparison between a realtor to a realtor. Right? Let's say, because the average is like 1 to 3 personal relationships in Colorado Springs, they know a realtor in this town. So what happens is that's your competition, not the under 5,000. What ends up happening is the personal relationships. But any relationship you overcome with enough value added, you just have to bring that to the table. So if I'm interviewing one realtor versus another, and I happen to go meet both of you, I thought you were both great, but I'm following you all over the internet. You're like, who's this Greg guy? Gosh, he's everywhere. Is he going to list my house that way? Is he going to get me exposure that way? It's giving you a leg up. It's giving you another opportunity to win their business, showing that compelling information. And then again, to expose that listing. You can literally tell that seller, hey, by the way, I have retargeting programs, so I'm going to blast this all over social media, and anybody who clicks on it, your listing amongst all my other listings, you're going to follow them all over the internet. I'm truly giving you multimedia exposure. I'm not just on Facebook like every realtor. I'm not just on the MLS like every realtor. I'm literally on Men's Health. I'm on ESPN. I'm on Food Network. This is a conversation you can have with a retargeting program. Now, these are my favorite ones, Reach 150, AdWorks. There's so many different ones on this list. If you want to know more about retargeting programs, please reach out to me and let me know. But this is really how it works. A prospect visits your site. You track the footage, very specifically the exit. They see your ad and they're retracked back. This is just fundamentals for business. Billion-dollar businesses have been doing this for years. This is extremely affordable. I would look into it if you haven't already. Last but not least, and this is the mind grenade, so I just want to make sure I'm doing good for time. Yes, I am. So when it comes down to this, I find it extremely important. This is top 1% upon 1%. Who in here is familiar? Let me rephrase that. Who in here is familiar that hasn't sat through one of my presentations before about geofencing? Raise your hands. 2, 3. Okay. This is 1 percentile. Trust me when I tell you, if you just implement this one aspect of everything that I've gone through, your business will dramatically increase. Now, there's a cost to this, don't get me wrong, and I'm a guy who wants to save money. I don't want to spend it unless if I have to. But when you get to a certain point, you need to take it to another level. There's only so much organic traffic that you can get. And there's a lot of organic traffic that you can get, don't get me wrong. But you have to spend a little bit of money when you get to a certain point. So geofencing in the grand scheme of things, this is the example that I always give. Imagine that you're trying to be that go-to real estate professional for every single surgeon in this town. So you walk up to Memorial Hospital, you go to the front receptionist and you say, hey, I'm curious, can I get a list of every first and last name, phone number, email of every surgeon who makes over $500,000 a year, who's been here for 5 to 7 years? Like, what? What are you talking about? Are you nuts? Get out of here. Or you want to be that go-to professional for every single software engineer. So you walk up to Oracle building, you do the same thing, and they're like, get out of here. Are you nuts? I'm not going to give you that information. You go to list providers. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not. Most of the time they're not. Anybody who's really spent some time and money with list providers, they're garbage. They're absolute garbage. They're old, they're dated information, they're secondary emails or secondary phone numbers. To me, they're useless. Now, when it comes to this changes the game. No matter what radius, it could be a single-family home, it could be an office complex, it could be, a stadium, it could be a neighborhood, zip code, it could be a city. There's no restriction on this at this point. It's still so new. It's been around for about 1.5 years, 2 years. When I say new in technology, that's old. But when it comes to Colorado Springs and Colorado, that is brand new. So when it's inside here specifically, you put a radius on every circumference. Any person who walks in, drives in, sits in that building, whatever radius, your ad pops up on their phone, directly on their cell phone. Less than 9% of online searches are done on desktops. It's all on this device. If you don't know that, you know that now, because that's the facts of what's going on here. So the importance of doing that, anywhere an ad spot can populate, and this is not just social media, this is all over the internet. Use your imagination of what you can do this for. Captive audience on a device inside a neighborhood. Now I got a list here. Hospitals, office buildings, restaurants, coffee shops, country clubs, hotels, resorts. You can go down to daycare centers, schools, gyms, military bases. You could do builders as far as their particular neighborhood or model homes. This is digital farming at its finest. This is extremely important to note that literally every single person that walks into that radius is going to see your ad. But you're like, hey, Greg, you know what? I don't want every single person in Memorial Hospital to see my ad to generate listings. Fine. Do a dynamic search inside that geofence that breaks down what their behavior is online. Now, this is all making sense, right? Every single site they go to, what works, what doesn't, their age range, their household income, their demographics, and you're only hitting those people. Instead of 10,000, you're hitting 200. And those 200 are done dynamically. Now, a lot of professionals that I work with, especially in this market, they're hitting California military installations, PCSing. They're literally putting geofences over military installations because you can't get on them. But guess what? If they are looking up anything on those lifestyle searches on those websites that I just mentioned on their smartphone, and then what happens is they break the whole thing down and they say, okay, cool, well, I fit into that category. I'm on the military installation. And then all of a sudden they pull their phone up and then it says, are you thinking about PCS in Colorado Springs? Let me guide you through the process. I'm like, what the heck? How'd they know that? You're right there. Captive audience in a way that it's never been done before. This is no joke. This is no joke. Millions upon millions of dollars in real estate have been made with this one concept right here. Any good marketing firm will allow you to do this. If you want more information, I will share everything that I have with you. If you want to talk about it, we can. Something else that you can really look at that a few professionals here in this market are doing that I know of, but a lot on the East Coast and the West Coast are absolutely crushing it with mobile beacons. So mobile beacons are kind of a mini geo fence, and essentially it's in a 300-foot radius. So these are really neat, and they come in packages, I mean, as cheap as $5 per beacon. And then I think the most expensive one is maybe $20 a beacon. So you can get them in packs like 3 for $100. But they're about the size of a keychain. And what you do with these beacons is you stick it on the listing as far as a particular property. So you can put it on an actual for sale sign. You can put it inside the actual kitchen or the points of interest in a particular listing. So anybody who drives up, walks in, will actually get a notification on their cell phone about that particular property with a 300-foot radius. So that's like a mini geofence. A lot cheaper to do, a lot cheaper to use if you're going to do something like geofencing, but it's something that can really compel. If you're at an open house, if you're doing a listing, something like that, there's companies that are actually putting these particular mobile beacons inside keychains. So car dealerships are already doing this. What would happen is you go to the dealership, they give you a keychain with that particular new car. You have that around you all the time. So you get notifications from Audi and BMW and Mercedes on your cell phone. This is already happening. It's a little creepy, but this is the reality we deal with. I want to share this information with you. I think it's extremely important that you do something about this. And this is what I leave everybody with. This is my absolute favorite Napoleon Hill quote. Life is a game board. Time is your opponent. If you procrastinate, you lose the game. You must make a move to be victorious. It's the truth with anything that we do in life. You could sit through this entire day today and say, whoa, that was interesting. That was good. Yeah, let me use that. Pick something, do something, change your business. That's how you're going to get it. It's not the dream, it's not the thought, it's the action that really gets it done. Please reach out to me if you have any questions. All my information is listed here below. If you have not seen the show, please watch the show. Interviewing the top real estate professionals in our marketplace, from realtors, lenders, builders, developers, residential or commercial. A lot of insight, a lot of inspiration. So I appreciate the views, appreciate the love. Thanks so much for all your time. I really appreciate you guys.